Welcome to Discovering. Tonight is part 2 of the successful moose collaring project.
It went fast, a day and a half, and we have 20 moose collared.
And some historic news for the Upper Peninsula. 2 cougar cubs were not only spotted by UP residents, they were photographed and verified.
I would never expect I would have been the one taking the pictures of them.
The Upper Peninsula is someplace special where, we have the habitat to support, those animals, particularly large carnivores.
So sit back and relax. It's Monday night, and it's time for Upper Michigan's very own Discovering.
The secret streams that flow beneath the cliffs of colored stone. Forest thick and healthy with birch and pine and oak. Surrounded by the greatest lakes this world has ever known. The black bear's awesome presence as he roams the hills and fields. Call of the timber wolf, the loon's lonesome trill. The eagle soaring high above, the trout lies deep and still. These are what I treasure, the only way I measure feelings that I have for this fine land. There is so much to discover when you're a long-time lover of northern Michigan.
The goal of our Michigan moose population for the people of Michigan is to provide a free-ranging, sustainable population. And so that's really what we want to see. We want to see the continuation of moose in Michigan, even with the challenges that they face. And so for our future management, one of the things that we can look at is, do we have lower pregnancy rates? Do we have vehicle collisions are there ways we can offset those vehicle collisions to help our moose population? Are there habitats that they're using? Can we increase the habitats that favor moose occurrence and occupancy, that increase moose nutrition so that perhaps they can have better pregnancy rates?
A better study and plan for our moose population is something UP citizens have asked for.
2011, I was part of a moose advisory team that was asked for by the legislature, and we came up with some recommendations. There was a number of people involved. I represented Michigan United Conservation Clubs. There was the National Wildlife Federation. There was Safari Club International, DNR biologists, a whole bunch of different people. Anyway, we made recommendations, and one of them was to develop a moose plan, just like we have for deer, wolves, turkey, you name it. What are their needs habitat-wise, and what's the best way to manage them? And so we'd asked for that. That still hasn't happened. And so one of the big parts of it was that the DNR didn't have the money to do it with.
George has brought many resolutions forward, including one that the MUCC passed last year.
I brought a resolution to our CACs, and those passed. We were asking up to maybe 5 bulls. Well, then I brought the similar resolution to Michigan United Conservation Clubs. That passed unanimously. People agreed that, by having a very limited hunt, that the program would have money to work with, and we'd learn a whole lot about where our population is and what's going on with the moose.
Moose are listed as a game species here in Michigan.
That was Safari Club International, who invested $1 million in the translocation project. And that was some of the chiefs of the Wildlife Division at that time wanted this population to be robust enough to support a limited hunting season. And they wanted the population to be large enough to be sustainable, of course, into the future.
Jim Hamill was also part of that moose advisory team.
This population at that time, and I'm sure at this time, could sustain a harvest of about 12 bulls a year and not do any harm to the sustainability of this population. Well, so what's the importance of that? For one thing, you're satisfying part of the public desires and needs. And secondly, when you attach some economic value to those animals other than tourist value, you can use that money to leverage more federal funds to do more moose work and moose research.
On the second morning, Ground Crew 1 staged on the western edge of the core moose study area.
We're basically south of US Highway 41. We're east of Highway 141, west of Highway 95, and north of the Michigami Reservoir. And that's kind of our core moose range where we see the most moose. We do have moose that are in other areas in the UP, but this is kind of the area where the reintroduction happened, and it's the area that we monitor every other year doing an aerial survey.
I lost track of time waiting in the woods, but eventually the planes worked their way west and a bull moose was spotted near us.
Kind of a smaller bull in this opening here. Our helicopter crew got a dart in it, radioed us in. We were standing by here a little distance away, so we got our snowmobiles into this bog area and got to get hands on a nice young bull and get a workup on it and get a collar on it.
How did it all go?
It went really well. We monitored our temperature, respiration, and heart rate throughout the entire process. We got the collar on the bull. We got blood drawn up. We got a few measurements. It did have a little bit of hair loss from some parasites from tick load on it, so we took some samples of the tick to get analysis on those as well.
His ribs here, you can really feel them.
Oh yeah.
The spine is pretty good though.
Yeah, he's pretty meaty.
Yeah, the spine here.
We gave it its reversal drug up on its feet shortly after, and we were able to kind of watch it work its way through this bog here and looked really well.
This is a beautiful young bull that Diana estimates to be 3 to 4 years old. We watched the bull wake up, and the sound of the helicopter startled him to his feet. He gave us quite a few looks as he walked away and into the woods.
I am Jacob DeCellier, and I'm the Habitat Specialist for the Keweenaw Bay Indian Community's Natural Resources Department. I mean, I grew up here and, learning the whole story of course, moose were a native species, locally extirpated. The moose lived to bring them back decades ago. It's a rarity to see them. So to be a part of the work to help better understand them and help increase their population and gain a better understanding is, again, just not something I ever thought I'd be able to be a part of.
It was looking like the project might be completed today.
17 moose, we're looking for 20. We still have 2 cows and 1 calf to go, and we have plenty of daylight left, so we're hoping to wrap up the project today. Not really any hiccups at this point, knock on wood, so it's going really well, and I think it's going to be a successful project for us.
While the team worked on the moose, the spotter plane and helicopter were right above us, and it appeared they had spotted another moose nearby, which was really cool to watch in action.
So my name is Harry Hensberg. I work for HeliWild. My role in this exercise is the helicopter pilot. The helicopters are based in Hurricane, Utah, but the company itself in Austin, Texas.
This crew has done projects like this across the world, but this is their first one in the Upper Peninsula.
So we're lucky in Michigan. We've got the help of spotter planes that'll go out to go and locate the moose. Our job thereafter is to go and find the moose that the spotter plane have found, assess whether they're in a convenient location to be caught. We then either move them, if they need to be moved, into an open and accessible location, then get low. One of the crew will then put a dart into that moose, and then after the dart hits the animal, darting it is actually the easy job. There comes the work afterwards. We've got to try and make sure that it stays in an accessible location, goes down in a good place, that you're able to land and drop crew members and biologists who are going to be processing those animals. So a dart can take 2 minutes, but anywhere from 2 to 8 minutes is what we're expecting for dart into when the moose is asleep and approachable.
The aerial research teams had a busy day.
And I believe we were out on the first 2 moose that were down this morning. So we got to work up a cow right next to her calf this morning, and then got picked up and were taken to another cow with twins, which was amazing. So we got to work up another animal there, and then got shuttled to a bull, which was really amazing. And an antlered bull at that. He still had his antlers. And then thought we were coming back, and they dropped us off to one more cow-calf combo, and that closed out the day with our 19 and 20 moose, and we were good to go.
And just like that, we were done.
2 days, it went fast. A day and a half, and we have 20 moose collared. We hit our age and sex ratios that we were looking for, so 5 bulls, 5 calves, and 10 cows. We ended up coming in under our expected time that we thought. Our team worked really well together. We were very surprised to see how well captures went. Smooth induction, all the animals went down very safely. They were able to be reversed very safely, got up, and were able to trot off. So happy that all the animals came away healthy, all the staff came away safe, and exceeded our time expectations too. So very happy it went so smoothly.
Overall, it sounds like the moose looked very healthy.
They looked really good. I don't think any of them had a body score of 10, but all 7s, 8s, so higher body scores. But overall, looked in really good condition. So that was nice, especially when we saw the cow with twin calves. So that was pretty exciting to see a cow that had raised 2 calves this far. So
the technology on these collars is a lot better than previous collars used on past surveys.
We have GPS collars that use the Iridium network. So they get the satellite communication to take a location every hour. And not only does it take a location and store that location, but then every 12 hours it can send those locations back to us. And so we can see it on our computer every 12 hours where those animals are moving. And the battery life too has really improved. So we used to have those radio collars that might last for 5 or 10 years, but now we have these GPS collars that are lasting 7 to 14 years, taking a location every hour.
The collars on the bulls and cows will stay on. The calf collars are designed to expand with the growing calves, and next winter they plan to recapture the calves and fit them with new collars. If not, they are set to fall off in 14 months.
We'll also be able to go out after the cows calve. Our goal is to go out with infrared drones and look for calves. We want to know if a calf was born. We want to know if it was a single or if it was a twin. And then we'll monitor the survival of those calves in addition to the collared animals.
The collars were already working and providing location data on the first 9 moose.
Some are moving already 5 kilometers from where we caught them. Some are staying really tight. So it's really interesting to be able to see that data in real time and watch it come in so quickly. Very different from what we've had from past data on our moose populations in Michigan.
And moose intel came in from a local resident who sent me these trail camera photos of the bull moose we collared. That young bull traveled almost 3 miles that evening. He must have wanted far away from that swamp. These aren't the only moose to be collared.
We're going to take what we learned from this year on how we can make improvements to make captures go hopefully even better, and take those 20 animals that we collared this year and help supplement that sample size with collaring an additional 40 in next winter.
By now, most of you have probably seen the photos of the cougar cubs that were spotted in Ontonagon County. The DNR press release stated that the photographer wanted to remain anonymous. Steve Walters never said he wanted to remain anonymous.
So I was coming around the corner and I happened to see, I thought they were house cats running towards me. So they got a little bit closer, and then all of a sudden I noticed that they weren't house cats. I thought they were bobcats. And I stopped when they ran by me, and I got out, and when I got out, there was one sitting right by the side of my tire. So I snapped a picture from there, or actually 3 pictures of him. And then he ran, and I went around the back of the truck, and there was another one sitting over in the snowbank. So I took a picture of that one also. Trying to figure out what to do. Nobody else was coming. Well, next thing you know, they started running back the way they came. So I started driving.
Sean Lukery was driving a county plow truck in the other direction.
And I'm looking in the woods, of course, obviously, to thought, well, Ma's close by, looking at us, looking at her kids. Anyway, the one more strength or what it was, he or she started to head up the hill. And the other one just kind of sat there. There was no vehicle by it. We were on the other side of the road. So then I walked up across the road to it. I thought, well, I'll just take my foot and nudge it and see if it can get up. I didn't know if it was hurt, cold, hungry, whatever. And then I just walked up to him and just gave him a little nudge with my foot, and he stood up. And he started to travel down the road. Not as fast as the other one. The first one was probably more stronger, whatnot. Yeah, he headed up the road. Of course, that was at work, so I had to head back to work.
And then when I turned around again, I started heading that way. I didn't see them anywhere, so I figured they went into a house or driveway that was up there. And that was the last I've seen of them.
Yoopers know that the UP is a wild place. With almost 9 million acres of forest land, glacial ridges and bluffs, lowland conifer swamps, and northern hardwoods, it's a habitat as diverse as the animals who call it home. It has been a debate for decades if mountain lions, also referred to as cougars, call this wilderness home, or if they are merely traveling through. Over the last 10 to 20 years, more and more trail cameras have documented cougars on the landscape. According to the Michigan DNR, these are all transient males, being spit out of the Dakotas, doing a loop around the UP in search of a mate. And there has been no evidence of a breeding population in over 100 years. They're not wrong. No trail cameras have picked up cubs, and it's hard to distinguish a female from a male in a trail camera photo. And no cub tracks have been verified. And then, on March 6th in Ontonagon County, 2 cougar cubs ran down a road and in front of Steve Walters' truck. Assuming that they were bobcats, Steve thought nothing more, until the next day.
I sent the pictures to my wife and daughter, who were in Green Bay at the time, and the next day they started sending me these pictures of bobcats and cougars, and they're just like, we don't think those are bobcats.
Steve is a friend of my brother-in-law's, and I got a hold of the photos that weekend.
And then you got a hold of me, and we started talking, and yes, they were definitely not bobcats like we thought.
There must have been 2 of them around here, a boy and a girl, because they got a litter.
On that Sunday, I connected Steve with DNR large carnivore specialist Brian Roll.
Essentially, it was we got people posting stuff on Facebook, and so then those things started trickling to me. Particularly with kittens, at first I was pretty skeptical because, you know, we've had that kind of hoax before. Folks will take pictures from out west, present them as being from the UP, and then actually I worked with you, and we got a good contact and were able to make contact with a person that saw them in person and took some pictures, so that kind of started our procedure then.
The DNR did contact me, and they wanted to verify my truck, that it was actually here at where we had seen the kittens.
There are confirmed trail camera photos of adult cougars in that area.
Prior to those kittens being kittens or cubs, it's used interchangeably. So I also had 6 pictures of an adult cougar, very close. In fact, one very close to where these kittens were. And then interestingly, after the press release came out, I had another landowner that's actually a little bit further to the north say that he had a picture of an adult cougar on his camera on the 12th, so 6 days after the kittens were seen. So I got those pictures from him. Some of the landowner pictures I had from earlier in February, I sent out to some biologists out west. They did indicate that the one photo, and I've seen it on Facebook too, where a cat's walking by a outhouse. That one, he felt pretty strongly that more than likely it is a female.
Brian is working with these landowners to monitor any cougar activity on their cameras.
They got cell cameras. They're both out of state, but they're letting me know what's getting picked up, and so far nothing.
Another piece of evidence that can solidify mountain lion reproduction here is some fur that was found.
I'm looking at it now to see if there's the necessary follicles, to see if it's worth testing. So it's rather expensive. If it does appear to be at least cat hair, I probably will go ahead and send that out on the hunch that maybe we'll get something.
Another local resident, Derek Guzik, photographed one of the cougar kittens in a nearby driveway, and the following day found tracks to show that mom had possibly reunited with her offspring. But the DNR says they cannot confirm that for certain.
We have not had any sightings, no cameras, nothing that we can confirm, but we're hopeful. So she may have, with the disturbance, may have just moved them to an entirely new area, and it's just, I'm hoping it's just a matter of time. Those kittens will stay with the mom up to 18 to 24 months. So there's a large investment in these young animals. So hopefully, given that period of time, sooner or later, with the amount of trail cameras out in the woods these days, they're going to walk in front of somebody's camera, and they're going to be willing to share that with us. Our estimates of 7 to 9 weeks was confirmed by Western biologists. They felt that that's right in the ballpark. But they're right now solely dependent on mom. So really the big thing now is just leave them alone. Don't be harassing them. They are a Michigan endangered species. We would like to see, hopefully, that these animals do survive.
These kittens are young, but given the estimate of 7 to 9 weeks of age, they could have been out on their first hunt with mom when they were caught off guard on the road.
I would assume the mother came to find them. With the traffic, people here, maybe she didn't want to come and gather them up.
Or Brian's theory is she could have been moving them to a new den site.
I have a hunch she was really close by when they took those pictures, because he said they were trying to get up out of the snowbank, but they couldn't. The bank was too steep and they couldn't get traction on the icy snow. So my hunch is that maybe something happened, because that was the day after that big blizzard. Maybe something wasn't suitable at her den site or wherever they were, and she was just going to move them, and they crossed the road and she hopped across. Maybe she got spooked when she heard the truck coming, and she hopped over, but then the kittens or cubs, they just couldn't make it up over the bank, and so they got caught stuck down in the roadbed.
Brian says if you spot any cougars, to keep your distance. And if you do have photos, to share them with the DNR.
We have that Eyes in the Field, which is an online reporting thing, and so you can do that in the middle of the night if you want. You can submit your photos right to that. It does get reviewed monthly, so we are pulling all the photos off of there, reviewing those photos. They all go through our Cougar team, and you will get a response from us, and mainly me, and we'll provide a response.
The DNR is cautious to say there is a permanent breeding population here in the UP.
We're still talking individuals. We're not talking a population. Given and we can really look at trail cameras are a prime example. We have 1,200 cameras out there just for doing our wolf abundance project. Are we picking up cougars? Yeah, we picked up a cougar on there. We also picked up a lynx on there. But we're not getting cougar after cougar after cougar on these pictures. It is a huge deal. It is historic. And when we're talking, if we can confirm reproduction, we're certainly the first reproduction in modern times east of the Mississippi, but we may actually be the first documentation east of the Missouri River.
For Steve, it's cool to be a part of documenting history.
Pretty interesting. I would never expect I would have been the one taking the pictures of them. Yeah, it's one thing whenever I go anywhere, I always take pictures of everything. So I'm kind of like a photographer almost, but not really. I just like taking pictures, so I'm glad I did.
Good for you.
I'm glad I did though, yeah.
That's all for tonight, and I hope to see you right back here next week for Upper Michigan's very own Discovering.